real question is why the Justice Department has such an absence of curiosity.
Washington Times officials repeatedly refused to comment to Frontline, even when we showed up with our camera to press for some answers.
And I've got a film crew here, and I'm looking to see if there's anyone that I can interview at the Washington Times for the story we're doing.
The answer was no, and when we visited another Moon-funded publication, The World and I, the reception grew even colder.
Yes, sir. You all are on private property. You've been told that. You will wait here. The Metropolitan Police will come here.
I'm going to ask you to leave the property.
Okay.
Okay, fine.
Who are you, sir? Are you with the Metropolitan Police Department?
No,
or are you with the security?
I'm with the security department.
Of the Washington Times Corporation?
Washington Times, that's correct.
Okay.
And I'd like you to leave right now, please.
Okay, I'll leave. Thank you. Why are the police here, by the way?
Later, the Times sent this statement, which said that the complete editorial independence of the Washington Times is well known and envied throughout the newspaper industry. The Times gained respect and influence throughout the Reagan years, lending editorial support to causes favored by the administration.
Freedom fighters will huddle close to their radios, hoping to catch word that the administration in America will remain their friend.
The Contra forces battling the Sandinista government in Nicaragua received editorial support and money from the Washington Times. Here's how it worked. In March 1985, Oliver North wrote this top-secret memo proposing the formation of a private foundation called the Nicaraguan Freedom Fund. Its purpose was to circumvent a congressional ban on aid to the Contras. Less than 2 months later, the Washington Times announced the birth of the Nicaraguan Freedom Fund in a front-page editorial. Times editor Arno de Borgraaf insisted he was surprised at the coincidence between his paper's initiative and North's secret project. The Washington Times contributed the first $100,000 to the Freedom Fund.
The worst outcome we could have would be the consolidation of a communist client state in Nicaragua.
When Oliver North was questioned by Congress about his role in funding the Contras, the American Freedom Coalition rushed to his defense. The AFC produced this video, Oliver North, Fight for Freedom, which it broadcast more than 600 times on over 100 television stations. The program asked for donations. Tax records reveal that the video raised more than $3.2 million for the AFC.
It only takes 30 minutes for a missile to get here from the Soviet Union. How far do you think you can get in 30 minutes?
Another project of the Reagan administration was the Strategic Defense Initiative, SDI, or Star Wars.
To destroy any missile. The SDI system using smart...
It also received support from the Washington Times and the American Freedom Coalition.
If you really value life, if you want your children and your grandchildren to get out from under the threat of nuclear annihilation, then please demonstrate your support for SDI right now.
This pro-Star Wars video was paid for and distributed by the AFC.
We can't stop it. We can't stop one damn missile. All I can do is watch 1 million people die or start blowing up the whole world. They are my only choices.
Reverend Moon's organization has been very supportive of Strategic Defense Initiative. And
former Defense and Central Intelligence official Daniel Graham, who sits on the AFC National Policy Board, co-produced the video.
It's called One Incoming. It includes a scenario that I got Tom Clancy to write for us, and I got Charlton Heston to do the voiceover.
As for America, our choice will remain nuclear vengeance or nothing until SDI is deployed.
It cost a lot of money to produce it, about $200,000, and Grant said he could raise the $200,000. Now, Grant is supported substantially by the Reverend Moon, so I'm sure that that's where that money came from to produce that movie.
According to Graham, the film has been seen on 400 television stations.
Do what's right. Let's protect our nation, our families, our loved ones.
What has my Unification movement has been passed.
Besides paying for his own media, Moon sought to influence other press outlets. One vehicle was the World Media Association.
And the founder is Reverend Moon, who is deeply concerned for the world media, particularly in the battle against the communism all over the world, who sees that the role of the media is so vital and so important for the salvation of our civilization.
The World Media Association sponsors all expense-paid conferences and junkets for journalists all over the world. As Bo Hee Pak told public station KQED in 1984, the Unification movement used the association as a weapon in a larger crusade.
But it's a total war. Basically, war of ideas, war of mind. The battlefield is the human mind. This is where the battle is fought. So, in this war, the entire things will be mobilized. Political means, social means, economical means, and propagandistic means, and the basically trying to take over the other person's mind. That is what the Third World War is all about. The war of ideology.
While waging its global war of ideas, the Unification movement was also fighting another battle: to overcome the stigma of Moon's 1982 conviction for tax evasion. To clear his name, Moon launched a campaign termed the New Birth Project. Its strategy was to show that Moon's prosecution was really racial and religious persecution.
I'm here today only because my skin is yellow and my religion is Unification Church.
And it's a powerful state trying to break one religion. And what happens to Reverend Moon, watch out, will happen to many other religious figures.
For thine is the kingdom, power, and the glory forever and ever. Amen.
Church leaders charged the media were part of the problem.
We don't like it. We don't like to be abused by any newspaper. We don't like to be abused by the media, and we're not going to take it.
But an adroit use of the media was part of the Unification plan. Moon bought full-page ads in leading newspapers and sent videotapes explaining his theology to other religious leaders at a cost of more than $4 million. Press conferences outside Moon's prison helped spread the word.
Today, we have witnessed a travesty of the judicial system of our United States. The Reverend Myung Moon has been unjustly convicted.
Reverend Moon, like myself, is a minority here in this country, and we don't have the popular views of the mainline churches. We are about liberation.
The New Birth Project worked, and Moon was born again as a martyr to bigotry. After he left prison, he was celebrated by more than 1,700 clergy at this God and Freedom banquet in Washington.
Ironically, and perhaps historically, there is something similar here to other religious movements. From this persecution has come the greatest support and acceptance of the Unification movement.
Part of the New Birth Project employed familiar Moon tactics. In July 1985, a front organization was formed called the Committee to Defend the United States Constitution. Moon insider David Finzer was asked to join the board.
We executed all of the documents, and I understand the corporation was incorporated the very next day. Now, that was the last I heard of the Committee to Defend the United States Constitution for about 2 years.
Finzer now claims that he didn't learn until much later that the Committee to Defend the United States Constitution was a front group.
All of the money was spent for publications or advertising or events that supported Reverend Moon. we found a magazine that was put out under the committee's name. There my name was listed as one of the directors that I'd never seen before. We found a check that showed that to the printer was something like $174,000 printed for that. Now, the real purpose was not, I can tell you what it was not. It was not to support religious liberty. What it was to support and sanitize Reverend Moon's name to give the appearance of independent support instead of wholly owned, bought support, to make him some kind of a First Amendment hero.
Moon ultimately went to the top in his effort to clear his name, seeking a presidential pardon for his crimes. The point man was Max Hugel, a former Reagan campaign official and one-time deputy director of the Central Intelligence Agency in charge of covert operations.
It is so important to have a superb intelligence agency.
Hugel was forced to leave the agency in the wake of a stock scandal.
Can you tell us why you're not choosing to stay on and fight?
Hugel later went into business with Jonathan Park, the son of Bohi Pak.
Through two huge sound locks are the best outfitted teleproduction studios in the region.
Hugel worked with Park to expand Moon's electronic media empire, while also brokering contacts between Bohi Pak and Vice President George Bush. In this April 1988 memo to Unification Church member Mark Lee, Hugel offers to arrange for Pak to have his picture taken with the Vice President at a cost of $50,000. Hugel also promises to try to get Bush to write to Pak. 2 months later, Bush did write to Pak and told him, "I hope we can meet again soon." Did they discuss a pardon during their meeting? Neither President Bush nor Bohi Pak would comment to Frontline. Later in 1988, Hugel also recruited the law firm of one of Ronald Reagan's best friends to assist in Moon's pardon effort, former Senator Paul Laxalt.
The friend who understands you creates you, a wise man once said. Paul created because he always understood, and for that I am and shall always be grateful.
Laxalt's law firm was paid $100,000 up front and $50,000 a month to obtain a presidential pardon for Moon. According to billings submitted by the lawyers, Laxalt was directly involved in the pardon effort. This petition for executive clemency was delivered to the Justice Department, accompanied by letters from Senator Orrin Hatch, publisher William Rusher, civil rights leader Ralph Abernathy, endorsing the pardon. The Washington Times also became involved in the pardon campaign. First, editor Arno de Borgraaf wrote a letter from the editor.
Not really a letter to the editor, it was a letter to President Reagan, urging President Reagan to grant Reverend Moon a presidential pardon.
Later, the Times ran this article examining Reagan's record on pardons. After it appeared, Laxalt's partner, Paul Perito, became alarmed. Perito warned Bohi Pak that if a case can be made that the church allegedly controls and dictates the activities of organizations such as the Washington Times, this will affect our credibility and could materially damage our prodigious efforts.